What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here with Kevole and Dilly Vanilli. And Dilly is trying to strive through and get through some tough internet connection, but we're going to do our best to get you his picks, my picks, and Kevole's picks for week number 9 of the 2018 season. We'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section below. If you're live with us, make sure you leave your comments, any of your NFL-related questions. We just had the NFL trade deadline, so I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that in this video as we go over the games and preview the games. Of course, if you're new to the Bottom Line View, always subscribe to the channel for NFL content like this, weekly picks. We have weekly fantasy start and sit here. We have a bunch of other things, live streams, breaking news videos. I covered all the trades at the trade deadline. So if you guys haven't already watched those videos, go make sure you check those videos out, especially if one of your teams made a move. Go check those videos out. But here today, we are going to talk about NFL Week 9 in depth. And in week number 9, I really feel like looking across the NFL, the injuries are starting to pile up for a lot of teams, and you just really see the injury report list kind of growing and growing every single week. And we've been fortunate this season, considering last season we had a lot of big names in the NFL go down with injuries, a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of big-time playmakers. This year, haven't had that so much, so we've been pretty lucky, but those injuries are starting to pile up and affect games. So in the back of your mind, you sort of have to start considering that when you're making these picks. But this is a great week, I think, guys. This is probably the best week we've had so far. We have a lot of marquee matchups, whether it's Pittsburgh at Baltimore, or it's Detroit and Minnesota, or it's the Chargers versus Seattle, the Rams versus New Orleans, Green Bay and New England. Even Monday Night Football doesn't have a bad game with Tennessee and Dallas. So we have a lot of big games this week and a couple of the biggest of the season in 1 week, basically back to back to back. So it's going to be very interesting to see where we go with these picks, and also just intriguing to watch how these teams separate from each other, and probably very entertaining week overall in the NFL with a lot of really good primetime action. So Dylan, let's sum up how we've done so far this season. What are our records? And also, what's your thoughts on week number 9?
First off, 8 for the bottom line view. The best we've had this year went 10 and 11 and 3. Mitch went 13 and 1. He went with that first perfect week. So it's really even now. Kevole 78.
What I'm hearing is
41 and 2.
But then Dylan, can you go to just audio, please?
I can't even understand why we can cut the internet is shit.
Yeah, just go to just audio. Take your bandwidth down to just audio. We're gonna go Kevole old school style. Okay, how is it now?
I don't like this.
That's better. That's better. At least we can hear you.
Whoa, great! I hate this. Okay, so I'm gonna repeat everything I just said.
Yes.
So everything's been looking well for the bottom line view this year. This was our best week last week in terms of picks. Kevole went 10 and 3. 11 and 3. Mitch went 13 and 1, and I had the first perfect week of the year, 14 and 0. So the standings are really close. Kevole 78, 41 and 2. Mitch 1 game behind him at 77, 42 and 2, and I'm 1 game behind him, 76, 43 and 2. So it's very even, very close between the three of us, and I think this week is going to show who's the best of us three here. So right here in the middle of the season. And for week 9, personally, I'm really looking forward to these matchups. There's some really good games, except for Thursday night. Not looking forward to that, but I won't have to watch it. So there's a lot of good games that I'm looking forward to, a lot of those that you brought up. And I'm excited we're going to at least stream one of them, maybe two. So.
And Kevole, what's your thoughts on week number 9?
Well, I don't know what Dylan there is thinking about. I think Thursday's going to be a great game. We'll talk about that.
We have the Bay Area rivalry, bro.
Bay Area brawl, baby. I think this is a very interesting week where I think some statements will be made, but I also think that this is also a week where there could be some overreactions. I think there's a few games that I think are really must-wins for a couple of teams. We'll get into that. And also, I think that there's a couple of people that are not being given the credit that they are deserved in the MVP race. And we're going to talk about them. I'm going to point them out as well. So this MVP race isn't just Gurley versus Mahomes, folks. There's a couple of other people that I think need some consideration. So I tease that. So this week, yeah, I think, a lot of great, very interesting must-win games for a lot of teams. And it'll be very interesting to see what we do. And it's really hard to say that there's really a terrible game this week. Well, other than Thursday night, maybe. But that'll be the Bay Area Brawl.
And as we can see, Kevole is Halloween tonight. So happy Halloween, everybody. But Kevole is in his costume. It's a better looking Russell Wilson. Look at that. Look at that lighting. Jeez. Perfect. All right. Yeah. Let us know your picks in the comment section. We're going to get into it right now. Thursday night, we have the Oakland Raiders at the San Francisco 49ers. As we've already brought up, obviously the most anticipated game of this week. Thursday Night Football, we have two one-win teams. We have John Gruden's Raiders. We have Kyle Shanahan's 49ers. And the sad thing is, at least there's an excuse for the 49ers being bad, but the Raiders are just straight up awful, and this is with pretty much their normal roster, other than trading two of their best players. But that's a side point. I did think, I know Dylan's going to be all over this, but that was the best trade that any team made this entire trade deadline, was that Amari Cooper got you a first-round pick. I felt like that was probably the best value of any trade. Now, I know that Dallas fans will be all over me with saying that, and that Amari Cooper is going to lead the Cowboys to the Super Bowl, and he's going to score 3 touchdowns in his debut, and we'll have to wait and see about that. But Raiders getting a first-round pick, considering Golden Tate went for a 3rd, Demaryius Thomas went for a 4th, Josh Gordon went for a 5th. Pretty good value for getting a first for Amari Cooper. So the Raiders, the 49ers. Is there a lot to say here? I think really breaking it down, it's two offensive coaches. It should be a shootout, in my opinion, even though CJ Beathard is pretty much the human turnover machine. It's hard to really bet on the 49ers, even though they are favored in this game. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are at home. That's also part of the reason I am taking them to win this game, because usually on Thursday night, I do favor the home team a little bit because you don't have to travel on a short week. The game planning on a short week, I do tend to go with the better X's and O's coach, which I believe to be Kyle Shanahan. I think he'll have a couple of more plays than John Gruden. And yes, I think Derek Carr is better than CJ Beathard, and that's what really scares me. But I think the 49ers can move the ball, maybe not the same way the Colts did with Andrew Luck, but their running game should get it going in this one. I think their defense is a little bit better than the Raiders, especially up front against the run. And another thing, I can't trust the Raiders. I can't pick them right now. They're just a bad team. And I think it's a little bit more fun and entertaining to pick the 49ers, because at least, it's exciting to pick CJ Beathard because it's CJ Beathard. So I'm going to go with the 49ers at home in this game, because you always pick the bad team at home over the bad team on the road. Kevole, who are you picking here?
I'm actually also picking the 49ers. I agree with what you said about the Raiders, and specifically defensively, which they are 31st out of a 32-team league and points against, with 218 in a year that defense's first half of the season is not very good. And I think the 49ers actually have some stuff that isn't terrible. I think Marquise Goodwin is a guy that I think he's a guy to watch. He's a very fast receiver, can make plays. George Kittle is pretty good. I'm not a real hater of CJ Beathard. I mean, yes, he's a bit of a turnover machine, but I don't think his line is great. I think that, to me, the 49ers seem to be more on an upswing than the Oakland Raiders right now. That first-round draft pick, that was a great value for Amari Cooper, but it's not going to help today on the Bay Area Brawl. So I'm going to go with the 49ers as well.
I'm going with the 49ers. That's a clean sweep. Nobody has done that this year, I think, for the 49ers. The 49ers are 6th in the NFL in rushing, and the Oakland Raiders are dead last against the rush. So, yeah, why would I pick them? They're a good team. This team's failing in all circumstances. I think Jalen Richard will have a very good game, but otherwise I don't see the Oakland offense getting it done. And for San Francisco, there's just a little bit more upside to them, and I think Kyle Shanahan is just going to have a little bit more in his pocket on Thursday night to get the job done. CJ Beathard's not one of those big, great guys I can rely on, but at least he's going to provide me with some kind of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I think the 49ers are just a little bit of a stronger team, and it looks like they have a little bit more fight than the Raiders at this point because the Raiders are waiting until the draft. So I'm going to go with the 49ers.
Yeah, just one more point on that. I want to just add to that a little bit more fight, as Dylan said. The thing is, with the 49ers compared to the Raiders have been blown out a lot this year, and it doesn't seem like even though the 49ers lose, they don't get blown out a lot. Looking at their schedule,
the Rams was the big blowout game.
Yeah, they lost to the Rams, which is understandable. They are just clearly outclassed in that matchup, especially, just everybody knows why. Okay. So then they play at Arizona and they lose by 3. They lost at Green Bay in a big game on primetime by 3, and they probably should have won. They lost to Arizona again. That was by 10. They lost to the Chargers by 2. They lost to the Chiefs by 11, but they were competitive, and they beat the Lions, and that was pretty much it. So, and I think when they beat the Lions, they still had Jimmy, but he got injured in that game. So overall, I just think looking at the 49ers, looking at the Raiders, just the 49ers have a little bit more fight. They're a little bit more competitive, and we know what we're going to get from them, I think, on a consistent basis as opposed to the Raiders. So going to the next game, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. This is one of the biggest games of this week. Currently, the Ravens are favored by 3 points. The Ravens did take the first matchup pretty convincingly and dominated this matchup in the first time around. Really, their defense dominated. The Steelers really couldn't move the ball a heck of a lot, and their offense really got it going against the Steelers. But at that point in time during the season, the Steelers were still trying to figure out who they are and who they were at the moment. So this is an interesting one because I think we're seeing two teams that are heading in different directions right now. Baltimore has kind of slid a little bit. They are on a downslope, and Pittsburgh is rising. Pittsburgh is 4-2-1. They're first in the AFC North. Baltimore's 4-4, third in the AFC North. I am going to go with the away team. I don't usually do this in this matchup. It's difficult for me to say that and do that with Baltimore being at home because Baltimore is a very good home team. But I'm sticking by the fact that I don't usually see Pittsburgh lose twice in a season to Baltimore. I don't remember the last time that happened. So by going off history, I think Pittsburgh's playing the better football at the moment. And I also think Pittsburgh does just not lose to the Ravens twice in one season, especially with Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback. I really like what I've seen from the Steelers offense. 4th in yards per game, 2nd in passing yards, 5th in points, 9th on third down. As for the Ravens, their offense has been up and down. Their running game doesn't seem to get it going very consistently. And I think you need to be able to run the ball against the Steelers for one, to keep that offense off the field. And number 2, just to really get your play action and to get Joe Flacco playing at his best. I think if the Steelers get out to an early lead in this game, they will definitely win this game. The Ravens are at their worst when they're having to throw the ball with consistency and get down the field by throwing the ball. And they're not very good in those situations when they need to do that. When looking at the defense, I know Pittsburgh's isn't the greatest, but they are strong at stopping the run, and they will force Joe Flacco to be in those situations on third down that they're not really comfortable in is as a team to get done. Now, I like Joe Flacco better this season than in the past. I'm not saying that Joe Flacco's playing poorly. I just think that's not the strong suit of the Ravens. And I think that, you look at the Steelers and you look at what the Panthers did to the Ravens defense last week, and I think they do take some of those things away. You don't want to run straight up the middle against the Ravens. You want to find a way to get them going side to side, maybe get some screen passes going, just go diagonal in the passing game, horizontal, and go basically, outside runs with Connor, I think will work fine. Just you don't want to run at the heart of this defense because they're a strong, big defense, and they're probably the biggest defense in the NFL. But there's still a lot of respect for that. But I think Pittsburgh's playing the better football. I think they have the more energetic, entertaining, fast-paced offense that I think in a game where that's going to be needed, I'm going to take Big Ben and this offense. And Antonio Brown is starting to get it going as well with a big game last week. Kevole, who do you think is going to win this big AFC North matchup?
I'm also picking Pittsburgh. I usually don't do that either. I usually would think that the home team would win in this rivalry. But yeah, the Ravens are number one on defense for sure. Pittsburgh has one of the best offenses in the league. Ben is hurt. His non-throwing wrist is hurt. He is still going to play. I think that Pittsburgh has taken the distraction of Le'Veon Bell out of there. And I feel that the Ravens are on a bit of a slide. And you look at their schedule when they play their wins this year. They did beat Pittsburgh, yes. The other win was Buffalo. Their other win here was the Titans, and that is the Broncos. So they haven't really beaten any. Their losses are to the Bengals, the Browns, the Saints, and the Panthers. So to me, I don't see the Ravens right now when they're facing upper echelon teams, which I think I have Pittsburgh in the top 10 in my power rankings. I don't think Baltimore matches up quite yet. I mean, I think that this is a different Pittsburgh team than the one that played on Sunday night a few weeks ago. So I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mitch, the last time the Ravens won both games in this rivalry was 2015, too far away from the past. That being said, I don't think they're going to get the job done. I'm going to pick the Steelers in this matchup. They're leaning towards a better success rate than they had earlier on in the season. There's struggles. We saw it in prime time week 4. It was not a very good game. That being said, the Steelers have looked better. James Conner's looking like he is going to replace Le'Veon Bell in that role. AB stepping up. This offense looks just feels a lot better, a lot more comfortable. And that being said, I have to pick them because I cannot trust the Ravens. 1 week their defense can carry them to win games, but then they can lose 12-9 to the Browns. So that being said, you have to score points if your defense is so great. You have to put up something on the board. I think it'll be a close game, but I'm going to pick the Steelers just because I have more confidence in their offense.
Okay. Next matchup, we have Chicago at Buffalo. This is a battle to me between two defenses. It's in Buffalo. It should be pretty relatively low scoring. And Chicago's offense, though, started to get it going every single week. It seems like it has a couple of new wrinkles added to it. I think a big. We need to really realize. I think that Tariq Cohen is he's like the machine of this offense right now. He's like the key piece, the key cog. And yeah, Jordan Howard had the most carries I think he's had in a long time, but I feel like Tariq Cohen is really the playmaker that makes this offense go. And that's something I did not really expect coming into this season, but it's getting it done. And to Buffalo on Monday Night Football, playing New England, at home, it was a big deal because, as Dylan and I talked about on the recap, they don't play a lot of Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night, even games at home in Buffalo. It was a big deal for them and that stadium and those fans. And I think, Buffalo plays with a lot of passion. They never come out and play, they don't come out flat. They always play for their coach. I think McDermott's done a really good job with the defense, and that defense is really tough. So this is going to be an interesting game. It's really going to prove to me what Mitch Trubisky has, I think. This is a big Mitch Trubisky prove to me game because I feel like Buffalo is going to be a tough challenge for this offense, especially if they don't have Allen Robinson. This could potentially be a closer game than people think, even with this situation at quarterback for Buffalo. But I think that's going to be the undoing for Buffalo. It's just the fact that their offense is just so bad. It's almost a detriment to their team. Like you don't even really want your offense on the field. It's like if it's Peterman, like I think it's going to be Peterman. Like he's not an NFL quarterback. I don't understand why the guy still has a job. I don't understand why you don't cut him and sign somebody else. I don't understand why you don't trade for somebody. I don't understand why Colin Kaepernick is still not a quarterback in the NFL and you have this poor of quarterback play. I know that you drafted somebody and he's currently injured and that's your excuse, but you cannot have Nathan Peterman playing quarterback. Derek Anderson was bad. Mm-hmm. Derek Anderson was bad, Dylan, but Peterman is a different level of bad. And I think the Chicago Bears... They signed who?
They signed Matt Barkley. He's good, right?
Bro.
He played for the Bears.
He was good in USC, maybe. Just my point is, I think that the Bears defense is going to get back on track. I've not been overly enthusiastic of what I've seen from them the past few weeks, even though they limited the Jets to 10 points last week. I do think this week they have a big showing. I think they score maybe a touchdown in this game. They'll get an interception, a fumble. Something's going to happen. Maybe even a punt return, something like that. I think this is going to be a wacky game, but in the same way, it's still going to be somewhat of a blowout. Like it will be like even on both, like the defenses will both be playing very well, but Buffalo's offense is going to be so bad that it allows Chicago to win by like 10 points. So I'm going to say it's going to be like 27 or 24 to like 13, maybe. No, probably less than that. It's probably going to be like 20 to like 10. But it's going to feel like it's like 13-10. Like it's going to feel like a 3-point game. But the defense of Chicago is going to make a play to make it a 10-point game, if you understand what I'm saying. So that's what I'm coming at. I think this is a big Trubisky game for him to prove himself, and I think this is a big game for the Bears that they can't slip up here and lose. Kev.
Yeah, you're right. This is a huge game for the Bears, I think. And the Bills, as terrible as they are, specifically offensively, they have caught some teams a little flat-footed. They did beat the Vikings earlier this year. They were in the game for most until the second half of the fourth quarter. They were in that game against the New England Patriots. But, you know, Nathan Peterman is starting, which he might be one of the worst. He's definitely one of the worst quarterbacks in NFL history. And I think that's going to be a problem. And I think the loss of Edmonds with a concussion, I think he was really strong in that New England game. I really like their linebacking core overall, but Edmonds being out, I think is going to be a huge factor. I think we have fireworks going on behind me, just so you know. The Bears will win by more than 10 points. And I think if they don't win by more than 10 points, I would be worried about the Bears going forward. I think this is a game that they need to make a statement because you got the Packers and playing the Patriots, and the Lions and the Vikings are going to battle it out. So I think the Bears want to make this statement. This is a big game for them that they do need to win if they're going to be in this NFC North competition.
Yeah, for sure. And the Bears are favored by 10, so they are expected to win by a fair margin. I just see it in my mind. It's just going to be one of those Bills games. I've seen it so many times before. It's going to be one of those grinded out type of games where the Bills are just so feisty that they hang around. Dylan, what do you see in this one?
You know, I feel bad for the Bills defense because they showed out this week against the Patriots. They tried their hardest to play for this organization. And the organization says, here's Derek Anderson. He's practiced a combined total of 6 times for this team. Our receivers cannot get separation. We're all garbage. They signed Terrell Pryor because they know they can't get anybody for separation. So with that being said, I feel bad for the defense. The Bears have to win. If the Bears lose, I'm concerned, just like Kevole said. You know, the Bears could come up with turnovers and they still won't this game because their offense scored a touchdown in 54 drives that started in their own territory. They've thrown more touchdowns to the other team in the last 5 weeks. How can they ball game? It's impossible. And you're going back to back. It's ridiculous. Like, you have nobody else. Derek Anderson has a concussion. Emergency quarterback Matt Barkley, who hasn't been relevant for 2 or 3 years, is off. Okay? This quarterback situation is ridiculous. They're not going to win any football games. Bears better win by at least 10 points. They better cover the spread.
Okay. Next matchup, as James says, somebody needs to please upgrade their internet.
Not my fault. Not my fault.
Tampa Bay at the Carolina Panthers. Fitzmagic has returned. It's a magical time in Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay will have to travel to Carolina, where Carolina is right now, I think you got to say, the third best team in the NFC and a top 5-ish team in the NFL. They're playing lights out. They blew out the number 1 defense in the NFL. Cam Newton, I know people don't want to hear me say it again, but do I have to always be the one, Kevole, to preach about the Cameron Newton of the NFL? I mean, it just seems like, why is this guy the one elite quarterback that never gets any respect? Kev,
well,
can you help me here?
I have a stat for you that will help this out, help you out. And, you know, I know that there's haters of Cam out there. Cam Newton has 15 fourth-quarter comebacks. Mm-hmm. Do you know who that is more than?
I do.
A man that is playing Sunday night and is considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Aaron Rodgers. And Cam Newton has played less games than Aaron Rodgers. So this is one of the guys that I think he needs to be mentioned in MVP voting. He's running smart. His offensive play has been smart. It's not record-setting like Todd Gurley and Patrick Mahomes, I grant you. But in the long run, I think what Cam Newton is doing is more sustainable than what Gurley and Mahomes are doing, quite frankly. And I do think that Cam Newton is a guy that needs to get a little bit more respect. Especially his receiving core isn't the most talented in the league. And I think that this team didn't have a lot of high expectations. It was really debatable where this team was. It certainly was not the third best. We didn't have them third best in the.
That's the thing, Kev. Like, to me, every year that's where the Panthers sit. Like, they never have the most talented team in the NFL. It just seems like last year they had arguably the worst receiving core in the NFL. And Cam dragged this team to the playoffs, and they almost beat the Saints. When can we consider Cam Newton this guy, put him in? Why can't we just say he's an elite quarterback? Why do we always have to constantly judge Cam? Why isn't it I understand that we always rate quarterbacks from year to year, and at least I do, but there's always those quarterbacks that are kind of are understood that they're in the conversation as one of the best quarterbacks. I know that he's not Brady or Rodgers or Breeze, but why can't we just say yeah, Cam's really good every year? Can we last year he's good. Every year he's pretty much really good. He's had maybe one bad season, and even that season wasn't that bad. He was an MVP in the NFL. And people don't want to give him this label. I just, it's weird to me. It's
Russell deal with the same thing, I think, in a lot of ways. They're not, because their stats aren't the super sexiest. I mean, last year everyone was on Russell Wilson for the amount of percentage of his offense that he was. But you know, that tells me that he's a really valuable player. So Cam and Russell deal with the same thing. I think Cam at times has been abrasive, I guess, to the media, which I guess puts that in there. But I think this year in the first half, I think he's at least number 3 in my MVP voting. If you're gonna, I think he's behind. I'll grant you that Gurley and Mahomes are your 1, 2, however you want to look at that. But I think Cam Newton right now is number 3, and I think he needs to be mentioned a little bit more.
I just think it's kind of one of those puzzling stories of the NFL and the media, because it just seems like we talked about last week, every time he does something wrong, perceived wrong, it's all over the internet, Twitter, whatever. But then whenever he does something good or leads a comeback, it's nowhere to be found. But yeah, it is what it is.
But yeah, I'm picking Carolina in this game. I don't know if I mentioned that.
I didn't even mention it either, but I'm picking Carolina. I think that was fairly obvious. They're playing in Carolina. I think their defense is playing well. I think Eric Reed has really upgraded the secondary, as we talked about last week. That carried over to the Baltimore game, and Luke Kuechly's flying around. He looks healthy and playing well. And that offense, I think, for the first time in a while, really has some electric offensive weapons around Cam, which is helping Cam. And the play calling of Norv Turner deserves a lot of credit. Really, really good stuff. And they put a game plan out there against the Ravens that really can be replicated for the rest of the season. And that's a mark of a true good offensive system. So Panthers offense playing really well, and their defense is complementing them well. So I have the Panthers. Kev, you have the Panthers?
I do have the Panthers. The Bucs defense is, I mean, yes, Fitzmagic will Fitzmagic away. And that offense is really great, but that defense is holding them back no matter who the defensive coordinator is. It's a talent issue there.
Yeah, and when you talk about Tampa Bay's offense, I think that the big thing that can't be overstated is how talented the supporting cast around the quarterback is. Other than really the running game and offensive line, like the receiving core for the Bucs, I would put up against any receiving core right now in the NFL. From the receivers to the tight ends, you have two tight ends. You have OJ Howard, who's a totally different type of player than Cam Brate. You can go two tight ends and beat you that way. You have three to four really good receivers. You have Mike Evans, who's a legitimate top 10 option. You have Deshaun Jackson, who's a burner, and now the leader in 60-yard plus touchdowns in the NFL history with 24. And you have Godwin, who's a very solid slot receiver, as well as Humphreys, who's not a bad complement as well. So you have a really, really good receiving core that's played really, really well this year, no matter the quarterback, and I think they deserve some more respect. If they can build that offensive line and get a running game, that would be even better for whoever ends up taking that job in the future. But their defense, like you said, is just straight up trash. Dylan, who are you picking?
I'm picking the Panthers. Jameis Winston needs to be released. He has talent, however, and the fact that everybody wants, back in the day wanted to support him. Oh, he's going to get this done. He's going to be the star of this Bucs team. Really just shows how overrated of a player he has been for multiple years. And I'm glad that they are going with Fitzpatrick going forward. It also shows how much the Bucs care about him.
Did they officially announce Fitzpatrick for the rest of the season? Because I heard it was one.
No. No, it's one game, but I even that they mentioned that he's going to be the starter for this game shows how much the confidence they have in Winston going forward. It shows that they have none. So I think he's an organization. The Panthers, they've created a good system. Obviously, Cam Newton is leading this team. I think that they're getting the job done right when necessary, and they're winning good games. They're holding on to that NFC South because they're really trying to climb into first place with a hard New Orleans team that's still playing at the best of their ability. And overall, I just think that the Panthers are a stronger team. Love Fitzmagic, but it's not going to get it done.
I should point out, if the Panthers win and the Saints lose, they're tied for first.
I also want to bring up I know we're talking a lot about the Panthers today, but I feel like it needs to be addressed because the Panthers are, like we said, a top 3 NFC team right now. And there's something weird about the Panthers. And I think it's like the whole like Norv Turner and Cam thing and the fact that they went to the Super Bowl in 2015. But I feel like ever since 2015, we've sort of dismissed the Panthers as being a legitimate Super Bowl threat. Now, I don't know if I'm saying like they can win the Super Bowl this year. I certainly wouldn't be that surprised, but like it's just something about the Panthers again where it's like it's just weird that we're not excited that they're good. Like do you know what I'm saying, Kev? Like
well, it's because
there's the Rams, there's the Chiefs, there's even like other teams that are good all the time, and we're more excited about them. And in lesser teams, like we're more excited about the Eagles for some reason, even though the Panthers beat them. We're more excited about the Packers because they have Aaron Rodgers. But we're sitting here and the Panthers are 5-2. And because they went to the Super Bowl and they lost, it's almost like in the back of our mind and our subconscious, we're saying they already had their opportunity and they're never going to get it again. Like, is there something in your mind as well that's saying that?
Not really. They don't have anything really. Like, you look at what the Rams have with Todd Gurley and Sean McVay, there's just a real appeal, and they play in LA. You look at what Patrick Mahomes is doing, and he's really exciting everybody. You look at a guy like James Conner in Pittsburgh, he excites everybody. I just, other than Cam, I don't think there's a lot in Carolina that excites everybody. I mean, I think that Christian McCaffrey's been undervalued this year and underrated this year. I think he's played much better than he did last year, but they don't have that sex appeal yet that everyone else does. And maybe if they won that Super Bowl and they beat Denver, I think maybe this would be different. But you know, they're just not the most. They're not one of those sexy teams.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. We went long enough on the Panthers game. They're a topic to me that this year really intrigues me. Kansas City at Cleveland. Let's keep this one short. I think we're all picking Kansas City. But I do want to say that I think that this game, there's a weird feeling in the back of my mind that I think this game might be close. I don't know why. I don't know how. I just think there's something. It's in Cleveland. Maybe they're inspired as Greg Williams, the new head coach, and Hugh Jackson is gone. And maybe Kansas City has a down week offensively. I don't know. There's always these games, but I just think this game's going to be weirdly close. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I just have this gut feeling. But I'm still going to go with Kansas City, obviously. I just think there's something about this game.
Just here's some stats for you. Hugh Jackson, of course, 3-36-1 with the Browns. Record on Sundays, 1-35-1. Record against the AFC North, 1-13-1. Record in road games, 0-20. The Cleveland Browns have not won a road game in over 2 years. Can you believe that? Yeah, I think the organization is going to be more excited with Greg Williams there. But I just, I feel for guys like Baker Mayfield and Myles Garrett. This organization is it's in a complete mess. This week proved it. Hey, I mean, having just all these arguments, it's so unprofessional. It's so Bush League. I don't know what. Yeah, I think it can't. You're right. It's one of those trap games for Kansas City. It's one of those games that Andy Reid sometimes loses but I'm still going to go with Kansas City here.
I'm going to try this camera thing again. Let's see if it probably won't. I'm picking the Chiefs. There's no question about it. The Browns team has just been failing, and even though Hugh Jackson is gone, it's not going to fix the problem against the number. I'd actually start the Chiefs defense this week. That's how confident. And overall in fantasy, I think the Chiefs are a better team. The Browns will get it done. They'll get more wins this year, but not against a team that puts up an average of 30 points a game. I'm going to say 38-20 Chiefs.
You keep saying that they're going to get more wins, but when are these wins actually going to come?
How are they going to win against a 7-1 team? That's not going to happen.
No, I'm not saying. I just say I have this feeling it might be close. Can I not say that?
I don't think it will. I think it'll be at least 2.
I think they fight. They lack. There's just
they lack coaching.
They lack coaching.
They had statistically the second worst coach of all time. Do you know the story behind the worst coach of all time? Now you just made me rant, guys. Do you know the story behind the worst coach of all time?
Well, it's
the worst? No, he's the second worst. I forgot the guy's name. I think it's Bud's, or not Bud Ryan. It's it was an Eagles coach, okay? But the thing is, the guy that has the worst coaching record of all time is worse than Hugh. Owned the team. That's why he was the coach. So basically, I'm saying Hugh Jackson is the worst coach of all time because the other guy owned his team, so he didn't have the opportunity to fire himself. He literally had to let himself go. So, that being said, Hugh sucks. I don't know why.
I know.
I don't know why people are still. I don't know why Hugh still doesn't have any backlash. Like, this guy is amazing. I don't know how he does it.
Because he's a joke.
He's still in the graces of people. Like, people still like this guy. He's garbage.
I think as a coach, he's not good as a coach, but he's been through a lot. He losing his mother and brother.
The thing is, Kev, he brought it on himself. This is the same coach who, when he was with the Raiders, he basically said, my players suck the last game of the season, and then he got fired. And then he gets hired by the Browns. And last year he says, my quarterback sucks. That's why we're losing. And he still has a job when they go 0-16. And this year, you don't give Baker Mayfield a chance to have a new coach under a new regime to look really fancy and good. Instead, you stick him with the worst coach of all time. And it takes this long to fire him. It should have been over a long time ago. That's all I'm saying. And I just don't get it. This guy's trash.
I still don't know how we started that in the first place.
Guy's trash.
He's been the loss of his. I think it's the human element of this. The loss of his mom and his brother.
I can't, Kev. I understand that from a personal level. I can't respect a coach who blames everything on his players.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the comments.
I don't think Healy will ever be back in the NFL again.
Maybe as a coordinator.
At the same time, I agree with you about Hugh, but Todd Haley has not endeared himself to a lot of people. And
I think the Todd Haley thing was basically the fact that Haslam didn't like, or he liked Hugh a lot, and I think that he saw that Haley and Hugh were fighting a lot, so he just wanted to get rid of both. But
that's fair. But I mean, how many people has Todd Haley gotten along with? Ask Mike.
Quite a bit. No, okay.
Haley is a good coach, though, in my opinion, personally.
We'll see how Bountygate gets to coach this team. That's great. Y'all remember he was a part of Bountygate, right? Greg Williams.
Yeah. But I still think he was a better option than Haley, though.
I don't, because Haley at least made the playoffs one year as a coach.
So did Greg.
He did?
Yep.
Where?
Well, the only head coach he ever had was at the Bills.
No, he was a Rams coach, wasn't he?
No. He's been as a head coach, he's never been.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, defensive coordinator, but
yeah, he's been to a couple of defensive coordinators. I mean, I guess he won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator. So.
Yeah.
All right, comments. Han's been saying the Jets are going to win this game this week against the Dolphins. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's not talk about all the technical difficulties we've had. Nick says Raiders and 49ers. No, don't worry about that. Raiders and 49ers are both bad teams, but they play pretty fast and put up points. It might turn out to be a better game than we think on Thursday, just because of how many points may be scored. Might be that Rams-49ers game.
Well, I said it would be a shootout.
It was that Rams-49ers game last year. We didn't think they were going to be good, and then it was like...
It could be a good game from an entertainment standpoint, but it's between two bad teams.
1-6 and 1-7. It really doesn't interest me. Personally. NAM says Marlon Mack for LaShawn McCoy and Marvin Jones. Fantasy question.
Ooh. I would hold on to Marlon Mack, but I do like Marvin Jones right now because
he's the number one guy now with gold number.
Well, probably the number 2, but still a good number 2.
You think Galladay's going to be the number 1 on that depth chart?
I think so, but I think they're pretty even. Whoever's open.
I think Marvin just gets more targets.
Maybe, but Galladay was out producing him before last week. So it's tough to say.
Both of them are starters, have to be most starts for fantasy this week. That's my opinion. Yeah, I'd hold on. I'd see what Marlon does here.
Because Marlon Mack's playing really well.
Yeah.
So I would personally keep Marlon Mack, but if you need a receiver, then that's a different story.
Yeah. Nathan Schuber, Kirk Cousins, or Ryan Fitzpatrick this week?
Cousins plays the Lions. Yeah, I would go Cousins.
I would go Cousins as well. I wouldn't. Fitzpatrick, he can do his thing, but
yeah, I know Fitzmagic can do his thing, but he's playing the Panthers in Carolina. That's tough. He might make a couple big plays, but.
Sean Drakeford, he's got his picks in there. He's saying the Jets are going to beat the Brock Osweiler-led Dolphins. Says the Seahawks are going to beat the Chargers. Let's see. Just going down. Thank God the G-men don't play Sunday. That is a fact. Actually,
they play next Monday. Though.
As an entertainment standpoint, I kind of wish they would because I
like watching the Giants, but I also dread it.
If I got to watch for 3 hours, no, but just watch fun. Ultra says the Bears are going to win 38-14 in their matchup against the Bills this week. Ultra's got also the Panthers beating the Bucs.
Score that many points.
41-23. Panthers over the Bucs.
I could see that.
Dirk Kant's giving the credit to Cam Newton. Scroll down here a little bit. Ultra's power rankings. Those ultra famous power rankings.
Here we go.
Here we go. Where's his Falcons nugget? 1 Rams, 2 Patriots, 3 Saints, 4 Chiefs, 5 Panthers, 6 Chargers, 7 Steelers, 8 Vikings, 9 Bears, 10 Redskins.
I also want to say, Stephen A. Smith, what are you trying to do with these hot takes? You don't even have the Patriots in your top 5 and you have the Rams second. What are you doing?
I didn't see that.
Watch the fucking NFL.
I didn't see that.
He's not having the Patriots in your top 5.
Who's his top 5?
He's trying to create controversy.
He has the Chargers and someone else over the page. I was like, dude, come on. This is stupid.
This is what.
And he had the Rams second. They're undefeated. Come on.
Who did he get first?
Who's Ultra's bottom half there?
Sorry,
can you re-say that? Sorry.
Yeah.
1 Rams, 2 Patriots, 3 Saints, 4 Chiefs, 5 Panthers, 6 Chargers, 7 Steelers, 8 Vikings, 9 Bears, 10 Redskins.
I have no problems with that, I don't think.
I might put the Bears ahead of the Vikings.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. Bears have been – I don't know what to think about the Bears right now, honestly.
I would maybe put the –
I
would maybe put the Eagles over the Bears.
Eagles aren't a top 10 team right now.
I think the Redskins should be 9.
I think it should be somewhere around there.
I don't think the Bears deserve to be there.
But I'm also struggling with the Vikings there too.
But there's no one else.
I don't know if I agree with you there.
I think the top 6 is certain. Like, you could maybe swap the Patriots, Saints, Chiefs anywhere you want. But the top 6, I think, is pretty solid. Steelers are a solid 7. And then after that, I think the Vikings deserve to be 8. And then Redskins 9. But then 10, I feel like you could debate between Bears, Seahawks, Eagles.
Texans have won 5 in a row.
Texans. That's probably it.
I think Texans should be 10 and Redskins 9. Personally. Let's go down here a little bit more. People are talking about Winston is trash. Of course. Agree with me, Is Hill going to play? Are we sure that Tyreek Hill's playing this week?
Well, if he doesn't, that changes the entire game, I think.
I still don't think they'll win. I
still think the Chiefs will win, but it won't be easy because he changes their entire offense.
It'll be closer, but I don't think it'll be much. Ridley or Moore, who has been better this season?
Ridley, but Moore was really good last week. I would watch out for Moore over the second half of the season.
I would too.
I really like the way they utilized him last week with the different plays they had for him, whether it was reverses or screens or dump offs or just getting the ball in his hands. He's really good with the ball in his hands.
Ultra, he's sad about no actor, no old man. The characters at Kevole. He hasn't seen the characters in a while.
I think we've retired those.
I talked to them and I told them not to come on anymore. We're trying to have a professional attitude here.
Oh, that's sad. That's real sad. Mr. Wong, Jared Cook or OJ Howard? I would go OJ Howard personally for fantasy. I don't know what y'all thinking, but
who or who? OJ or who?
OJ or Jared Cook?
Ooh. I would go Cook.
Really?
Because he's probably the number one target now, and he's playing the 49ers, while OJ is playing the Panthers. So
on the road.
I would probably go Cook, but I don't know. Again, we think that game is going to be a shootout.
Yeah, true. And we'll get to more comments in a little bit. We got to get back to the games. So that's where I'll stand there.
All right. Next one, we have the New York Jets. 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 They take on the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins suck a lot. So they play.
Yes, they do.
The Dolphins are favored by 3 with Brock Osweiler at quarterback. The first time around, Ryan Tannehill played at quarterback. The Dolphins did win. It was a very interesting game because that was the first one where we really said, oh, Sam Darnold had a stinker. That was a bad game for Sam Darnold. Had a couple of interceptions. He did throw like 350 yards, but a lot of that was like in a comeback effort. I think the Dolphins won by like, I want to say 6 or 8 points, something like that. Some range in there. Dolphins are 4-4. Jets are 3-5. So this is a division turning sort of game. If the Jets want to stay in it somewhat, I would assume this would be for second. I know that they would be tied with record, so it would be depending on that, but they would be tied in record for second in the AFC East. So there's something to be played for here. And if the Jets want to continue, to be in the playoff conversation, they need to win this game. And same for the Dolphins. If they win this game, this is huge because then they go to 5-4 and they're above 500. And we don't know when Tannehill's coming back. But the Dolphins do have a lot of injuries. This is one of the games I was talking about at the beginning of the pick show. When I was talking about injuries, there's a lot of injuries going on right now. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with the New York Jets on the road. Again, I don't know if the Dolphins can beat the Jets twice in one season. I know this one's in Miami, but first off, I don't trust Brock Osweiler ever. I will pick against Brock Osweiler as many times in my life as I possibly can. I know at times his stats will look good, but if you watch the games, their biggest play was a pass by their slot receiver, Danny Amendola. He does, it's a lot of screens, bubbles, screens, runs. If they can get their running game going, that's a different story. They might be able to win this game. But I think the Dolphins are a very banged up team. And I think the Jets, Sam Darnold will learn from his first performance against the Dolphins. He was able to throw the ball through the air in that game, just made a couple of interceptions. And when you look at when you look back at that game, I really feel like those interceptions, those turnovers really were the reason why the Dolphins were able to win the game. They put them in good position on offense to get in the end zone. I don't think that happens this time. I think actually Osweiler is the one that coughs up the football, and that's where the Jets capitalize. I'm going to go with the Jets, the underdog, to take this game. I'm going to say by 3 points. I'll say like 27-24 Jets.
I'm also going with the Jets here as well. I mean, this team is just, the Dolphins are just too injured. They're coming back to reality. I don't think it would matter if it was Tannehill or Osweiler. They're not productive. Their defense is starting to show some weakness as well. And the Jets team, while not necessarily super consistent, they seem to find ways to win games once in a while. And they're growing. The Jets are growing. This was a thing that we talked about in our preview, that the Jets would be one of these teams that I think are they're not awesome, but I'm seeing a lot of good things from the Jets overall for me to pick. So I'm going to go with the Jets here as well.
Well, here's a clean sweep here. I can't trust the Dolphins. We're going with the Jets here.
I thought for sure this was a Dolphins Dylan stock pick.
Nah, I can't trust the Dolphins. Well, first of all, they were 3-0. Now they're 4-4. So it's downtrending in the wrong direction, like entirely. Also, I was the QB. I just can't trust it. I think Darnold. What happens here is that he throws for a lot of yards. The completion percentage is kind of down, but I think that he's gaining trust from his receivers every week, and it's going to help in this game in particular because it's a divisional matchup, right around the same record with them, obviously, as well. And, I just see a little bit more in what the Jets can bring with the injuries that the Dolphins have. So I'm going to pick the Jets. I know Dirk Kant's going to be mad about it, but every time he supports them and says that they are definitely going to win, they lose. So I'm going to pick the Jets.
Interesting. I thought that for sure was going to be a Dolphins Dilly pick. I'm going to throw him off and throw it to him at one time he's not expecting. Watch this.
All right.
Detroit at Minnesota is the next matchup. I think this is going to be a good one because both teams coming off a tough loss from last week. Minnesota, though, I know that Kevole came last week, very disappointed in Minnesota's performance. I was actually kind of impressed given their injuries, and I felt like that game against New Orleans I know that New Orleans won pretty comfortably in the end of things, but if you remember, the Vikings were winning that game at one point. And there was a couple things that happened. There was a Thielen fumble, some shifts in the game. The Saints get momentum, and then they start to roll. But I do still think the Vikings are a solid team in the NFC, and I did not like what I saw from Detroit, even though I praised them before that game against the Seahawks. I think some of that's the Seahawks, some of that's the Lions. And I think it's still the Lions. They still got a long way to go. They still got some things to fix, some players to acquire over this next offseason. They still have some holes. So I think while this game will probably be pretty entertaining, as most Lions-Vikings games are, and it will probably go somewhat down to the wire, I think Kirk Cousins is going to ball, and I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to get a bounce back because I think unlike Vikings teams of the past, this year they do have a quarterback, and they do have a passing game that they can rely upon, and I think that's the difference between them having, 2 bad games in a row and just one game where they kind of slip up and then they bounce back because they have a true leader now. They have a true quarterback. And I think Kirk Cousins has a big game here. And I'm going to say they win 30-24 over the Lions. And I think this game should be pretty good. I think this is a sleeper game to watch, but Vikings for me. Dylan, who are you picking?
I'm going to pick the Vikings here. I picked the Seahawks over the Lions last week, and that was one of those I was kind of questionable about whether or not I was going to do it. But then the Seahawks proved that they were going to compete, and the Lions were just not quite there yet as a whole. I think the Vikings, like you said, were in that game with the Saints very competitively until they made some crucial turnovers that kind of just in the tide of the Saints, I should say. So I got more confidence in what the Vikings are going to put out there. I think you're right. Kirk Cousins is going to go out there and ball against the Detroit Lions defense. And going forward, I just think it would be a big game if the Lions win because they can still race for it in the NFC North. But I think this one's going to be a real heartbreaker for them. I got the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm also big in the Vikings here. I think this trade of Golden Tate is an interesting decision. I think trading their best receiver. Kenny Golladay has struggled the last little while. Matthew Stafford had funny feet. And I think he's going to have funny feet again against his Vikings pass rush, which is as dangerous as the Seahawks pass rush. And those corners got abused by the Seahawk receivers. I don't expect that to be any different with Thielen and Diggs. And the Vikings can run the ball a bit. I think the Vikings are good enough to beat a team like the Lions. I just don't think they're good enough to beat a team like the Saints. Well, I will pick the Vikings here.
Bro.
Bruh.
Carry on.
My
Give
wayward
this
son.
man the football, please. Please.
Well, you can't run.
Patricia, give the ball to carry on. You gave it to him 8 times last week. Get your damn pencil out of your damn ass and give the ball to your best running back. You traded your best receiver. It's time to put up or shut up. Be the team you want to be. Run the ball and run it with your best running back. Stop it.
You just had a freshly sharpened pencil.
Last week.
Bro, I was drawing storyboards with this baby. Look at that.
Oh, okay. It's just, I have mechanical eye. I haven't seen a number 2 pencil in a minute. You know what I'm saying? Interesting. All right. Continue.
Okay. All right. So we're all going with the Vikings.
Now he's got to put it in the air. Okay.
Now we have Atlanta at Washington. And this one is a sneaky number. Washington is only favored by 1.5. And I feel like Ultra would say that Atlanta should be favored by about 7.5. I know that's how he feels. For me, I feel Washington is again being disrespected. They're at home. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And besides that slip up against the Saints, they've dominated basically every offense they've played. They have a really good defensive line. I think they'll shut down the run game for Atlanta. I don't think that Atlanta has enough of a electrifying, difficult passing game the way that the Saints do in terms of their schemes with Sean Payton and what he can do to confuse an opponent. I think Greg Minuski is going to be all over Steve Sarkisian and this offense and this simple offense. And I think that Washington is going to win this game because they're going to continue to run the ball against this light front of Atlanta. And this offensive line is going to continue to power. It's just going to continue the storybook of Adrian Peterson. And I think Washington, even though they win ugly, they're going to win. And I'm going to say they win 24-20 over Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm picking Washington as well. They're running the ball well. They're playing defense well. They're playing old school football well. They're playing at home. Atlanta's defense is struggling, and Atlanta's offense is very predictable. I will pick Washington here. Is Dilly froze?
Dilly? Who you picking, Dilly? Should I write it down?
Dilly.
Dylan. Hello. Okay. I think he's picking Atlanta. So we'll write down Atlanta for him.
No, there he is.
Dylan.
He's moving. He's just not he's not talking.
He's doing some Halloween thing. I don't know. He's trying to freak me out. Dylan.
If Washington wins, there's Tipton.
I think he's like a ghost spirit or something.
It's the ghost of
Dylan. He's really angry right now. I can just tell. I should like fake pick. What?
Oh.
Okay, so Atlanta. Okay, Atlanta. All right, let's move on.
Come on, wait for him.
Hello. Go on audio. Should I just go to the next game?
Yeah, well, let's maybe do that.
Okay. All right, this is a really, really close one for me. It's Houston at Denver. I think Houston is favored by 1.5, but I could be wrong. So don't get all over me if I'm wrong. But this is a really close one because and why? Oh, Denver's favored by 1. Okay, there we go. So Denver is 3-5. Houston is 5-3. Denver is 3rd in the AFC West. Houston's 1st in the AFC South. This is why Denver is favored. Okay, let's look at the schedule. Again, where do they play?
Denver, because that's the only place that they play. They don't
seriously, this is not a joke, NFL. This is the 11th home game Denver has had this year, and nobody's even played 11 games yet. Okay? All right. Let's look at their schedule real quick. Okay. So they've lost to Kansas City twice. I understand it's a divisional game, but they lost in Kansas City only by 7. It was a competitive game. Then they destroyed Arizona by 35 points on Thursday Night Football. They played the Rams. They lost to them by 3. Okay. So they've lost to the 2 of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFL by 7 or less in the last 3 weeks. And they destroyed the other team they played. The only bad game they've played was in New York against the Jets. The other games, they should have beat Kansas City the first time around. They lost by 4. And they lost to Baltimore. They beat Oakland, and they beat a Seattle team that we think is better than what they were maybe then, but maybe we didn't give them enough credit back then for that win. So I think Denver is better than their record says. They did lose Demaryius Thomas, but I think, like I've been saying, Courtland Sutton is going to come up big because I think he's better than Demaryius Thomas right now. Again, I'll say it. I'll say it again. Houston is playing really well. They're on a winning streak. What?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Finally. It's like the ghost of Dylan. It's Dylan.
Is it Dylan or the spirit? Are you there, Dylan?
Oh, my.
Bro, get internet. All right. Houston.
Spooky. By the way, I'm going to hurt my hand. I keep punching this fucking thing.
Can I, continue, or are you, I can't... I'm just kidding.
This shit is pissing me off.
All right, Dylan, you're done for the day, bro. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't, guys. I just can't deal with that. The whole fucking thing. I'm sorry. Okay, so Houston at Denver. Here he is again.
Okay, stay on audio though, dude.
This is just the Halloween extravaganza.
Yeah, usually this was me last year.
Bro, take the L, bro.
No, I admire his spirit.
Okay, I'm just going to continue. So I'm picking the Broncos. Yes, I'm picking the Broncos. Houston is, I think, on the road, and I don't think this is a great matchup for them. Demaryius returns to Houston, but I think he's going to take that L. I think the way the Broncos have been playing, I think has been very impressive. And I don't like the matchup of Houston's offensive line on the road. Bad offensive lines don't travel well. They're going to play, as Sims and Lefko say, Von Chubb. They play Miller and they play Bradley Chubb as well. So that's a duo right now that's hitting on all cylinders. I think those two guys are going to dominate this game. And I really don't like the injury report for the secondary of Houston. I don't think Jonathan Joseph's going to play in this game. They have a number of guys injured back there. I understand Tyrann Mathieu's been a beast. I understand J.J. Watt's been a beast. But I don't think that's enough. I actually think Broncos are going to pull somewhat of an upset. I understand they're favored by 1 point. But in the general public's mind, I feel like this is somewhat of an upset. My one concern is that Case Keenum does give this game away, but I feel like Case Keenum can make enough throws in this game against a banged up secondary, and this defense can make enough plays. And I also would like to just mention how the Broncos have played against a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. They've given him the toughest time of probably any team, and now they're playing Deshaun Watson, a very similar style of quarterback. I think they'll do a good job against Deshaun Watson. I don't think Lamar Miller will have the game that he's been having the last couple of weeks, even though I've been very impressed by that. I'm going to go with the Broncos to pull the slight upset. I'll say by 2 or 3 points in this game. Very close game, very entertaining game, but it's going to show some of the flaws of the Houston Texans.
Houston is 28th in red zone offense, and I think that's a really big problem when you face a really good defense like Denver is, and Denver is a good defense. I'm not impressed with. Again, I'll just remind you, I'm not a John Elway fan as an executive. I just don't think he's done the job, but that's okay. I think that Denver is going to be able to run the ball. I think that I'm also just concerned that the way Deshaun Watson is playing and that style is not going to be conducive to what the Broncos do. He's going to be running around and taking risks, and the Broncos are going to be too physical for that. I think that the loss of Will Fuller here is a pretty huge loss, and
I do too. Even though they got Demaryius Thomas, I don't think it's quite the same.
There's no Will Fuller, and I think the fact that the Texans don't have a really good running game, I think also hurts them as well. So I'm also going to pick the Broncos here.
Man, why is everyone picking the picks? I think everyone's going to pick the opposite.
I'm sorry. I'm just picking with my
Kev, stop it. Are you reading off my paper?
Brain.
Damn it, Kev.
We'll have some. I know we're going to have one that's different.
Damn you, Kev. All right.
Is Dilly gone now? Bye, Dilly.
I hope so. Just being honest. Sorry, Dilly. All right. The next game is your Seattle Seahawks at home taking on the LA Chargers. Thank God this game's not in LA because Seattle fans would probably make it their home stadium and get a nice lawn chair and pull up. But this game's going to be really good, I think. I think this is going to be a fun game. And I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks, Kev. And you know how I'm a Chargers fan. But as I said last week and as I said earlier this week, this is a game the Chargers lose. I know the Chargers. I know them well. I think they're going to lose this game. I just think they're going to lose this game. And I still have questions about the Chargers. In a game, I understand it's in London, but against the Titans, a team that I think is crap, they should have blown that team out, and they didn't. And I think the one thing the Titans did that I think the Seattle Seahawks will replicate, the Chargers offense was awesome in that game. They had very limited opportunities, but the reason why they had limited opportunities is because the Titans had the ball possession and they controlled the clock. I think that's what the Seahawks do in this game, and I think the Seahawks defense is playing better than the Titans. So that being said, loud stadium, tough place to play. It's still West Coast, so it's not that bad travel-wise, but I like the Seattle running game. I think they're doing well with the play action, and I like Russell Wilson off play action as opposed to sitting in the shotgun getting killed. It's been very nice. So I like Russell Wilson in this game. I like the Seahawks, and I like that running game to control the clock against the Chargers and hold it long enough to not allow Phillip Rivers to make enough big plays to win this game. So I'm going to go the Seahawks. I'm going to go 27-23 Seahawks.
I'm sorry. I'm also going to be picking the Seahawks as well. I
Who is this?
I'm on the phone now. I got to try something different. I can't lose connection here.
He was wearing a Mavs shirt the whole time.
Yeah, Mavs shirt. I don't know what game y'all are on. What are you talking about, the Chargers?
Yeah. Who are you? Okay, can we just get a quick rundown? Like, just say the team's name. So you're picking Atlanta, and who are you picking for the other game?
First of all, I did not pick Atlanta. I picked the Redskins.
Well, Ultra's going to be upset.
Nice try there. I'm picking the Redskins. I'm picking the Texans, and I'm picking the Chargers in this game. By the way,
you just interrupted Kevole. What a nice guy.
Tell us why you're picking the Chargers.
Oh.
Okay. First of all, I heard your comment about you not wanting me back here. Appreciate it.
I did not want you back here, especially with that ghost spirit voodoo shit.
Well, this is Halloween. Okay, now I'm on the phone, so it can't happen. All right. Chargers are going to win this game, in my opinion, because they got the better complete team. Melvin Gordon's coming back from an injury. They were on a bye. They're going to be more healthy coming back. I think he'll be solid going forward. This team, I know this is a team that this is a game where you feel like they're going to lose this game, but I think I just have a little bit more confidence in them. The Seahawks, I like what they did last week. I picked the Seahawks for a reason, and they put on a shellacking against the Lions. I like what I saw out of that, but I don't know if they can do it against this team that I think the defense is going to get better over the course of the season, and I think they're going to make a statement here this week. So I think the Chargers are going to win, but it'll be a close and entertaining game.
We're both going Seahawks. Kevole, tell them why.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think, Melvin Gordon is going to be, and Austin Eckler is a really good combination. Not going to disagree with that. Having Gordon back is going to help them. And Phillip Rivers is fun to watch. But the Seattle Seahawks are going to run the ball, and the Seattle Seahawks are going to have play action, and they're going to it's going to be smash mouth. And I don't know if the Chargers on the line. I think the Seahawks have an advantage, and I also think that the secondary is going to dominate the Chargers receivers. I understand that the Chargers receivers are considered pretty high up. I like Tyrell Williams, but Keenan Allen has struggled this year, and I think that Seahawk defense is not getting the credit that they deserve for the way that they've played for most of this year, even when Pete Carroll and Brian Schottenheimer were not on the same page. This Seahawks defense was hanging in there. And even without Earl Thomas, they have found a way to hang in there as well.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like the Seahawks have lost all their sexiness as a team, so people aren't really loving them right now. Like, I feel like not a lot of people are actually watching the Seahawks. I think that's actually an issue with them.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. Don't watch the Seahawks.
Because they haven't had a lot of high-profile games.
Nope.
No. Yeah, no, the NFL saw that this year. It got a lot different than it has been in the last couple seasons.
Yeah.
Dylan, I feel like you should just be on your phone
Texans
for like every stream, but that's just me.
Who'd y'all pick for Texans and Broncos?
I picked the Broncos.
I picked, regretfully, the Broncos.
Regretfully. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Is this the game of the week?
It's one of them.
One of them.
One of them.
If you had to pick a game of the week, is it this one or is it Sunday night? I would go Sunday night, but I'm also a Patriots fan.
I think Sunday night because I think that there's such a historical significance for that game.
That's what I would say as well. Dylan?
I mean, he's got to shout out the Rams Saints. Like, that's still a pretty big game, too. But
is it historically significant?
No, I still think it's the Pax Patriots, but I'm just saying you got to get a little bit of love in there. But it's only the second matchup ever. So,
okay.
By the way, I just want to point out something about Seattle. They have traveled the most miles out of anybody in the National Football League. I just want to point that out.
Is that going to be bad for them this week or good?
Well, no. We're going to get into something here when we talk about the Rams and the Saints.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to throw a curveball, and I'm going to let Dylan start this one off and see who he's picking in this game.
In the Rams-Saints matchup, I'm going to go with the Saints. You'll hear a little bit more about what I think about both teams in the video tomorrow, the new video, Dilly Vanilli. There will be any internet connection problems, I promise you there. That's fully edited. I think the Saints are going to come out there and realize that they have a chip on their shoulder. They have a team that's right on their ass trying to get in first place. They understand that they just came off a big victory against the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. And the Rams, they're the only undefeated team, but they barely beat those Packers. I mean, if it wasn't for Ty Montgomery and him getting traded over to Baltimore because of it, you could see the Rams being 7-1 right now as a result. I think the Saints are going to come out there and realize that they want to get that number one seed just as much as anybody else, and this could be the game that decides the number one seed in the NFC. So all said and done, I think the Saints team is just a little bit more stronger going forward, and I think what we saw last week was that Drew Brees didn't have to lead that team in order to get that victory. It came from multiple different avenues. I think he's going to have to lead this team a little bit more this week. He can't throw 120 yards and win the game against the Rams, but there's a lot of other pieces that can help them win. And with that being said, I think they're just a little bit stronger in this head-to-head matchup, and you're going to hear why I think about that tomorrow. But in terms of picks, I want you guys to know I got the Saints.
I would love to pick the Saints here.
Ooh!
I would love to. I really would. Because
that is a curveball and a half.
Wow!
Because
he's not going to pick the Saints.
And the Hawks win next week. The Hawks are one game behind the Rams. The Rams, this is the furthest they've traveled.
Good luck with beating the Rams. We'll
see next week.
We saw earlier.
The Rams have not had to travel in an Eastern time zone yet. They've never barely been outside the West. The farthest they've traveled is Denver.
Everybody's traveled to Denver at one point.
Yeah, the entire NFL has to go to Denver at some point. It seems. I'll grant you that the Rams almost lost to the Packers. The Rams had a tough game against the Seahawks. There was two really tough games. This is going to be a tough game. There's no question about it. But they're 7-0, and they have found ways to win. And I feel like there's a bit of a chip on this team's shoulder. And I think that the fact that the Saints are favored in this game, I think is throwing a lot of people off. I'm going to pick the Rams in this one. But I think it's a really close game. My feeling on this is I disagree with you on the best trade. I think that the best acquisition.
No, I meant the best trade in terms of value.
Yeah, okay, fair. But I think the Dante Fowler acquisition for the Rams was a great and important acquisition because they were getting beat off the edge. You can't have Ndamukong playing on the edge. You need him inside to create some space for Aaron Donald.
My favorite trade was actually Clinton Dix.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that this was like as tough as it is for me to say. I think this Fowler trade was one of the better trades, and I just think that the Rams have found ways to win. They find receivers, and I just have this feeling like everybody's picking the Saints, which is telling me it could be wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints won. I'm cheering for the Saints for so many reasons, but I think the Rams are going to win.
This is so hard.
This is very strange to me, seeing him support the Rams in any capacity.
This is honestly so difficult because, like, I've changed my mind on this game so many times. And there's things running through my mind right now. Like, if I just had to go through this matchup, quarterback-wise, I don't think Goff's been playing his best lately.
No.
And Breeze didn't play very well last week. The home field advantage is huge for the Saints. Huge, because that place is tough to play in. It's loud, and they're good there. But it doesn't necessarily hurt the Rams either, because the Rams are a team that can be good in a dome. So, and you look at the talent around the quarterbacks, Gurley is something else right now. He's something else. I don't think, like, him, there's him and, like, a couple other guys in the NFL right now. Like, you just don't have an answer for them, like, right now. It's like, he's just going to do what he wants. Kamara's great. The defenses are interesting. The Saints defense played pretty well last week. They don't have Aaron Donald.
They don't have a guy like that. Like, Cam Jordan's their best
thing.
They
don't have, like, that guy that can make the game-winning play. But I feel like the Saints, I think this is their year. Like, I just keep going back to, like, this is their year. And at home, it's like the kid genius versus his dad. Like, it's like a good matchup. So I'm going to go the Saints because I slightly trust Drew Brees more, and they're at home. Even though the Rams, I would not be surprised one bit if they won. And their defense does have more playmakers. I think one thing we've seen from the Saints that they can do is the Rams, their secondary, they do give up some big plays. And I think the Saints can take advantage of that more so than anything else. And that's why the Saints will win. And I'll say it's 31-28 Saints.
It'll be fun. It'll be a really good game, honestly.
So close.
One of my theories though is I think Peyton is gonna not. I think Peyton is not gonna throw out his entire game plan, and I think he's gonna wait for later. I think he's gonna hold
Maybe.
some. That's one thing I'm intrigued by.
I just think though also the Rams aren't going to go undefeated in my opinion, so they got to lose.
Sure,
They gotta lose at some point. Whether it's this game, could be the Chiefs game, but
they've got a tough month here. This is gonna work. This is the month we're gonna learn about the Rams for sure.
Mm. Yep.
All right, it's number 12 verse number 12. It's the two best quarterbacks of the 2010s. It's two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I looked up the tickets. The cheapest ticket is $300.
So you're going.
Oh, I'm obviously going. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going. I wish I was going. This is one game I wish I was going. This is a bucket list sort of game. This game has only ever happened once. It was in Green Bay, 2014. The Packers won. I still remember moments in that game. So this game matters to Patriots fans. This game matters to Packers fans. We've had this debate day in, day out. It's the Patriots versus the Packers. Packers interesting trade deadline. They got rid of Ty Montgomery and Clinton Dix. As I said, their best player in their secondary, arguably their best player on their defense, 25 years old, Pro Bowler, playmaker in the back end. Got rid of him for a 4th-round pick to Washington, which I felt was a really good trade for Washington. New England, banged up. Running back position, banged up. Sony Michel going to play? I don't know. As for Cordell Patterson, they think he's great at running back. I don't know. Wide receivers, Edelman and Gordon, both limited. We're limited last week. Limited again. Gronk, every injury in the book. Brady is not injured right now. Good thing. Marcus Cannon, injured. Defense, Hightower, did not play. There's a lot of injuries on New England, and there's a lot of injuries on Green Bay. Their whole offense is limited, basically. And I don't know. Their receivers played mostly last week, so we'll see if they play this week. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Green Bay does without Clinton Dix. That could be something to look out for. But I just think overall, Patriots undefeated at home. I think they're the better team. I think they're more talented. And as much as it's close between Rodgers and Brady, I think in New England, they're not going to lose this one. And I think this game matters a lot to Tom Brady and matters a lot to Bill Belichick. And I think they're really going to want to win this game. So I think that this is a legacy game in a way. So I'm going to pick the Patriots to win that legacy game as they usually do. 34-24 Patriots. I am a little bit concerned about Aaron Rodgers making the big plays. I do want to see blitz the living crap out of this man. I do not care. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, they got to put the pressure on them. They got to get some kind of pressure in order to win this football game. We talked about that on the Monday night recap between the Patriots and the Bills. First off, I don't want to hear Donald Trump talking about how NFL ratings are at an all-time low, because this will be the highest-rated game of the season until the Super Bowl. This game
might be like Dylan. This might be like a top 5 rated game, like rated television show this year.
Yeah, I think so. This is going to be all. Everybody's going to come in. Hey, do you see Rodgers Brady? Hey, do you see Rodgers Brady? Hey, I'm taking off for Rodgers Brady. Everybody's going to want to see this game. My buddy said he doesn't want to work Sunday so he can watch this football game in particular. And he's not a Patriots or Packers fan. That is the biggest thing here. We're going to see, this is why the NFL wants these games every 4 years. Here's the expectation from him. Anyways, the Packers are pissed. I talked about it in the Packers-Rams stream. You gave the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks, one of the most talented, gifted quarterbacks, 1 minute and 57 seconds to go down the field to get a field goal for the win, and you fumbled the football. You don't think that Mr. Rodgers, I should say, is pissed about that? He's pretty mad about that whole situation, and that's why Tom Montgomery got the boot. Their offense started off very well in those first 3 drives against the Rams. They were able to get a lot of yardage, but they weren't able to come up with the win at the end of the game, and they really struggled to get it done. Defensively, they started off hot, and then Todd Gurley said, you know what, hold my beer, let me go out ahead and do my thing. The Patriots, they kind of got stumped by a defense that I think is better than the Green Bay Packers, and either way, they still won by 19. I think the Patriots are going to win. I think this will obviously be the hype of whether Rodgers and Brady are going to go back and forth, gunslinger, shootout kind of fight. And considering that neither defense is healthy at this point, neither team is really healthy 100%, I think it's just going to be interesting to see what's going forward with both these teams. But I like the Patriots odds here. Going with them. What's the score? 31-23.
Let's address a couple things I want to address. Of course, the legacy of these guys, I think Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time. And I think Aaron Rodgers is 5th, actually. I would put him as number 5. I mean, yes, he doesn't have the Super Bowl pedigree that others have, but the art of the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers has mastered and perfected. And we know that. And, it'll be interesting what future generations talk about this game. This is only the second time that these two have faced each other, as mentioned, 2014. So this is Aaron Rodgers' first appearance in New England facing Tom Brady. So I think, this is going to be a really high game. I think it's going to be really exciting. The guy I want to talk about to spend a little bit more time on, let's get away from this because Brady and Rodgers are going to do their thing. No question, but it's the intangibles that put this game is the difference. And to me, I look at a guy like James White. This guy, in my opinion, James White should be number 4 in MVP voting right now.
Holy smoker!
Look,
did you guys watch? Did Kevole watch the James White video?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh,
but
Kevole, it's a cheap plug time. Go watch my James White is the most undervalued NFL player. Go watch that video. Thank you. I think it's one of my best videos.
10 carries for 79 yards last week against the Buffalo Bills. 8 catches for 15 yards. The guy finds
opposite.
It's opposite.
8 rushes, 15 yards.
He had 10 catches.
8 rushes, 15 yards. 10 catches, 79 yards. Point is, he easily gets you 100 yards. He is a factor. He's a guy you have to watch in the running game and the receiving game. He really, other than Brady, and you look at Edelman and Gronk and Gordon and all this. Yeah, they're really talented, but White makes this engine go, and very valuable, very dangerous player that you have to game plan for when you're facing New England Patriots. On the other side of this, I look at the Green Bay Packers right now, and I feel like this is a team that's actually, quite frankly, fractured. Ty Montgomery disobeyed the coach basically and said, I'm going to run this out, as opposed to taking the knee and letting A-Rod do his thing. Whether he would have won or not, who knows? I just also think that the Packers, I've said this before and I say it again, the talent in the Green Bay Packers is not the same that it has been. It keeps shrinking. I think that this is going to be a close game. I think the Packers are going to be really hyped for this game. I think that you're right. This is a legacy game, and I think it's a legacy game for the Packers organization. So I think in a lot of ways the Packers are going to be wanting to win this for legacy reasons. I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last, and I believe that will be the Patriots will find a way to do that, and I think that's why the Patriots will win.
I'm going to say this. Rob Gronkowski's taken quite a bit of heat from New England media, and today he had one of the most awkward press conferences I've seen him have. He basically was asked questions about the slow start and asked questions about his injuries, and he didn't really answer them the way that Gronk usually answers them. I think Rob Gronkowski's going to have his best game of the season this week, and
he shows up in the big lights.
He
shows
does.
up in big games.
I think he's going to dominate. And I think he should dominate this week. So watch out for him, even if he's really injured, which maybe the Patriots aren't letting us know how injured he is for basically not leading the opponent on. I think that he's going to have a really big game. So watch out for Gronk. He is the Hall of Fame talent in this game that is not being talked about. And usually those players dominate.
Who do you think the nation North America is cheering for?
Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree.
No doubt. I don't know if it's because he hasn't won like a ton of Super Bowls, but a lot of people prefer to cheer for Rodgers. I don't know if it's like the Patriots are annoying, they're like the evil empire sort of thing, or it's like the Aaron Rodgers, like he's sort of cool.
Yeah, he dates
factor.
Beautiful women.
Like, I don't know what it is.
In 10 years, I was just thinking about this. In history, I wonder if future generations will think Aaron Rodgers is overrated.
If they just look at the stats, yeah.
I wonder if that will be a debate.
If they don't watch the tape, then maybe. If they just look at rings, then maybe. But then there could also be a crowd that's looking at, oh, maybe Brady was overrated because he didn't, like at the beginning of his career, he didn't have all these stats. But actually, Tom Brady, it's funny because they were talking about this on Monday Night Football. Like, Tom Brady played in part of that era where it was rare to get 300 yards. Like, when he started playing in 2001, like, everybody was averaging, like, it was rare to get 4,000. Like, only a couple quarterbacks would get that every year. Now it's like 4,000 is like the bare minimum, it seems like.
Yeah, all the 5,000-yard seasons besides Marino's happened in the last 8 years. So,
yeah, like, it's just weird it's going to be really odd when quarterbacks like Matt Ryan have like significantly better stats than Joe Montana, for example. Like, we know who the better quarterback is, but future generations may look at it in a different way, that the guys with the stats might be more impressive. Maybe Drew Brees is the best quarterback of all time, according to a kid that hasn't been born yet. I don't know. And Aaron Rodgers has been lucky that he started his career when they were starting that passing boom. So it is different from Brady in that way. So interesting to think about, I guess. Tennessee at Dallas. Dilly Vanilli, thoughts?
I envy the last week in particular because I was on a bye. I didn't have to stress about watching the Cowboys. But now I get to watch them on primetime football where everybody gets to see if they're terrible or they're I'm interested to see how Amari Cooper plays. I'm not one of those people. I don't know if there's anybody out there because they've been ridiculing him. But I'm not one of those people that thinks that Amari Cooper is going to go for 3 touchdowns and have 300 yards, whatever this bullshit is. I think he will play well. I think Dak has to look at him more because this is a big game for Dak. Show that you can use your number one receiver. You finally have somebody as a number one receiver and use him well in the offense. And I think that the running game is going to be impressive in this game as well. The Titans, I can't trust Marcus Mariota. I cannot trust what Marcus Mariota brings to the table. 1 week he's going to go out there and rush for some good games, and the team will win games based on their defense. But then the next week he goes out there and puts on a big old goose egg of like 90 passing yards. The defense for the Cowboys, still the only team in football to not give up more than 24 points in a game. They're still very good on defense. I think they're close to a top 5 unit. People need to look at that more. They just are kind of one of those teams that they give the Cowboys offense a chance to win football games.
Can I also ask a question? Who's the best offense they've played? Not that I'm saying the Cowboys defense isn't good. I'm just asking this question.
Okay, let me think here. Seattle, maybe? I'm trying to think if they're...
That's not a great offense.
No, but I'm trying to think.
Hi, Seahawks fan here. What?
Well, and that was the most points they gave up, though. That was also 24. I'm trying to think. Detroit, they gave up. That was an offense that they gave up. Plus, they had the 3 receivers.
Yeah, I just think like before we like put the crown on Dallas, like.
But this is a defense that hasn't been talked about, and there's a lot of things that they should be talked about. Their linebacker crew, when everybody's healthy, is very good. And when Sean Lee hasn't played, Leighton Vander Esch has looked like a very good rookie, an insurance policy. The defensive line, DeMarcus Lawrence hasn't had sacks in the last couple of weeks, but that is going to put a lot of pressure on whoever it is, and especially since it's Marcus Mariota and a team that gave up 11 sacks a couple of weeks ago. I think they could get us some sacks against that offensive line of Tennessee, and Marcus Mariota is not going to get that done. The secondary has gotten, it's pretty. It's not my favorite group in the world, but they can make some plays. And overall, I don't think the Cowboys are going to go out there and put on so many points. I don't think this is going to be a great game. I'd actually rated it close to the game we had against Arizona last year, where it was very close, and the Cowboys were able to finish it off in the end. I think the Cowboys will win. I'm going to say 24-17. I can't rely on the Texans offense or the Titans offense. That's the biggest thing for me. Even if I'm not going to come from a Cowboys perspective, I don't think Mariota can lead this team. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, offensively, both of these teams are actually not good. Tennessee's 30th, Dallas is 28th.
That's so.
Yeah, I'm not on the Amari Cooper. I understand the gamble you take with Amari Cooper. I understand the need for a receiver, but I might have asked for Dez. I'm going to say it. I think that one of the things that this offense is missing. I'm not saying that Dez is the be all end all of receivers, but what Dez's personality does for the Dallas offense, it's just different because this Dallas offense just looks so conservative. Even it just looks too conservative, and I think in a way it's impacting Zeke because it just doesn't have that fist. It doesn't not that you have to be a really spectacular offense, but Dez's personality just brought a different fire that I don't think that they have right now. I agree with Dylan though. I think they haven't played anyone really awesome offensively for sure, but their defense has done well. I think their linebackers are I wouldn't say underrated because the Cowboys get a lot of attention, but their front seven is a pretty solid front seven. Of course, what always shoots them in the hip is the fact that they have Jason Garrett as a coach, and he's at times he's been far too conservative. You could argue that the Cowboys could be 5-2. You could argue that, in a lot of ways.
It's always the clutch factor. They can never finish football games, and I agree with you on that.
Tennessee, yeah, you're right. They're not very trustworthy in their offensive line. Allowed 11 sacks. Marcus Mariota is far too inconsistent. I don't know what they're doing with the running game. If this was a home game, if this game was in Nashville, though, I probably would pick Tennessee. I don't do well when I pick Dallas, but Dallas is at home, and I feel that is the edge because they seem to play better at home.
Yeah,
they find ways to win at home, but they don't find ways to win on the road. So that is why I'm picking Dallas in this one.
I'm going with the Cowboys as well, and these guys have pretty much mentioned it. I just think the Titans' offense is just putrid. I think it's non-existent, and the Dallas defense is good enough to dominate this unit. I can't trust Marcus Mariota to make any plays, and like you guys said, prime time home team, big deal, and Cowboys are way better at home, so they should be able to win this game, but again, like Dylan said, it's not going to be sexy. I think it'll be like 20-13, something like that. And yeah, they'll do enough to win offensively, but the defense will basically win this game for them. And again, it wasn't meant to be a shot at the Cowboys defense. I just think that we should look at who they've played a little bit. But,
every defense, I'm saying that there are defenses out there that we are claiming is great, and they've still given up points to teams we don't think are very good.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any great defense, especially this year.
No, well, statistically, this has been the worst season in the history of the game for defense. I mean, they're giving up so many yardage and points, It's ridiculous. But I'm saying that this defense, when you look at it and you're like, okay, who you're going to name
is really good. It's one of the best in the NFL. I'm just, if you're saying the Seahawks is the best offense you've played, let's just,
okay, here's the thing that we're always going to say. If you play against the teams that you're supposed to beat and you're supposed to do well,
I understand.
We're going to say that who have they beaten? And then when you play against teams that are up there and you lose, it's like, it's spinning in a circle. That's what I'm just trying to say.
Okay.
You got to beat the teams you got to beat. So
fair enough. Okay. Yeah, but I'm picking the Cowboys 20-13. Zeke does enough. We'll see what Cooper does. And I just not a big believer in the Titans. I just don't know how they make these games close, or I don't know how they win, period. I just don't like them as a football team. I don't think they're as talented as other people think, and I don't think they're playing well. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys. And that's it for our picks. Any final comments, guys?
Do we want to go to the chat first before we get out of here?
Sure.
I'll go through it decently quick here. People are picking the Chargers for the most part in the chat here. Not a lot of Chargers fans in here. Interesting.
Not a lot of Charger
Not a
fans?
lot-
Not a lot of
Chargers.
Charger fans that are picking the Chargers?
No, I'm sorry. Not a lot of Charger fans. No, not a lot of Seahawks non-believers. A lot of people are picking the Seahawks. I would expect more Chargers fans in here, or a lot.
If
Some
this
picks
game
in
was
there.
in LA, I think the Chargers would be more favored.
It's gonna be interesting. It'll be an interesting game. I think so. Durkant says the overhyped Rams will lose and fall back to earth. I think that's he's just jelly that his team is not 8-0, like the Rams here. But I still think the Saints will win. Scrolling down here, Ghost Skittle says, "Don't sleep on Kevole's Hawks." He's been saying that for weeks now.
He has been saying that every live stream. He loves the Hawks.
He loves your Hawks for some reason. I don't understand. Predator says Jared Goff is a false quarterback. I want to hear the term for that one. False quarterback. Let's see. Scrolling down here, Rob has the Patriots winning 52-10. God help me if we
If
see
the
that game.
Patriots, this will be one of my. If the Patriots blow the Packers out, this will be one of my favorite blowout victories of all time. I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't think it's gonna happen, but if it does happen, I'll be very excited.
That would be so sad, though. I just don't want that to happen. I don't
do.
want that.
Stop.
Somebody, Devin Carter, I want to hear y'all's opinion because there's a big argument in the chat here. He is calling Rodgers around the 35th greatest quarterback in the
Get
history
that
of the
guy out
game.
of the chat. Don't even finish your sentence.
35th? Where I put him at
Name
number 8.
34 quarterbacks better than Aaron Rodgers and get back to me.
I put him at number 8. Where do y'all have
You'll
him?
be
And
stretching by like 6.
I have him at 5th.
I have him 5th as well.
Okay. I have him at 8th. So, talent-wise, he's the best quarterback. Talent-wise, he's the best quarterback we've ever seen in the game. But
That's probably
35th.
true.
35th. That's insane. Durkant, of course, saying my Cowboys are going to take the L. I mean, his team's been getting a whole lot of them lately, so he can't really talk. Love you, brother. It'll be interesting. Just this whole argument here. People are talking about Wentz is not he's not up to par with what he should be.
Wentz was great last week.
He was very good. Gave him the opportunities.
I think that's a win that's going to turn the season around for the Eagles.
I think that now that they got Golden Tate, you're going to
That
see
offense.
Wentz. You're going to see Wentz balling.
I do want to see their run game get better, though. I'm kind of
It's
sad about
not.
that.
I don't think it's going to. Unless that offensive line completely dominates. Like, their running backs just aren't good enough. Like, they just
No.
don't have a running back.
It sucks. I wish they would kind of went for that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the price would have been, but get somebody out there.
Running backs are tough to acquire. I think you would have to give up a lot.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know exactly what like you said, maybe the asking price was too much, but I bet there's somebody you could have gotten out there for decently cheap. Not Le'Veon Bell. It was never going to happen. But I mean,
Well, he couldn't have been traded.
You can't be a.
Well, I meant a couple weeks ago when there was an option for that.
All right.
It was just never. I didn't think it was ever going to happen. Oh wow! I just went a lot higher than I thought it was going to. There we go.
I think it's becoming an interesting debate because there's a lot of people saying that Connor is more valuable than Bell.
Dude, I mean, this Connor situation is really interesting. Maybe we were just overrating the fact that Bell was the number 1 running back in the game.
I don't know what to think. I just think I don't know if I even underestimated it because I've always been saying the Steelers' offensive line is awesome, but maybe it's even more awesome than we know.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Also, the same Devin guy says that Wilson sucks. So I don't know if we can take this into consideration.
Cam and Russell have been two of the most underrated quarterbacks this year. And
it's because their name isn't Patrick or Mahomes.
Both of them? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, that is it for comments.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed Week 9's preview and predictions. This might have been the longest one, but it was for the biggest and best week we have so far in the NFL. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hopefully you enjoyed despite all the technical issues. We'll try and get those fixed up as soon as possible, and we might have to transition to the Dilly phone on a regular basis, but we'll see.
We better fucking not. We got 2 streams next week, or Sunday. That better not be an issue.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Mitch, Dilly, and Kevole. Deuces.